Hey folks, it's Tracy T again, and today we're going to learn how to make this fun wire wrapped wristlet. It's like a little bangle bracelet. And really the only thing we're going to need is an assortment of beads. You're going to use one 24-inch piece of 20 gauge wire and three 12-inch pieces of 24 gauge wire. So yes, 24 inches of 20 gauge, three 12-inch pieces of 24 gauge. It's a lot of numbers. What we're going to do to get started is the 20 is going to be our core part of the bangle. So we want to string about 2/3 of the full amount of our bangle worth of beads. So we're not wrapping it all yet. We're just going to string a random assortment of beads. And you can do stick to a color scheme you like. Or you can go completely random if you want. This is a great way to use up lonely onlys and odd beads that you have. Alright, so I've strung about 2/3. It doesn't have to be exact. You don't have to pull out a ruler or anything. But you want to hold it about where you think it should fit and try it on your wrist. It should just fit over the wide part of your hand. So I think that's going to be just right. So I'm going to take this 20 gauge and we just want to secure it at that spot. So I'm just going to wrap a few times in either direction. And this is a very forgiving design, because we're going to get the base done with the 20 and we're going to come back and do some micro wrapping with the 24 gauge and fill in any weird spaces. So if it's looking a little funky here when you first start wrapping it together, don't fret. So now I've got it connected, and just one at a time you'll bring a bead down and take the piece that's heading in that direction around the bead and just wrap once next to it. And you want to leave a little space. So maybe do one more that's a wide wrap and then do another bead. We just want to space them out a little bit. So that we're kind of going like this. So I'm going to work my way around this way a little while, and then you can start working your way around the other way. I wouldn't do it all from one direction, just so you don't end up with a bigger gap in one place. But just work a little bit on each side. And try to gauge as you go. If it feels like they're going to end up being too bunched together, start putting them close together. But I'm going to work at getting the rest of these secured, and then I'll show you how to do your micro wrapping. Alright, so I worked my way around. And actually, I could have done a few less beads. You see the first example has a little more space between them. But mine will be just fine too. And this piece was a little short, so I just wrapped it till it was done. And this one I can clip. And then I'll just take my chain nose pliers and work down those last pieces that are standing up. Just enough so they're not sharp. You don't want it to poke you in the wrist. Okay. So it's still a little bendy, and that's where your micro wrapping is going to come in. It's going to help stabilize it a little bit more, and it's just going to look nice. So we're working with 3 different 12-inch pieces just because it's going to be a less tedious to do have like a big piece that you have to feed through. And I recommend starting with the middle of each piece and then working your way down. And then you will have even less to have to feed through. So I'm just going to kind of haphazardly wrap between each one and just fill the space with little wraps. And you're going to cross your bead just like you did with the thicker. But this is purely decorative, so go crazy with it. So I'm going to work this way and then this way and try to start at 3 different points with your piece. So I'm going to finish this one and show you how to start another one and finish up your bracelet. Alright, so I worked my first piece from here, this way, and this way, and I just went until I ran out of wire. I'm going to tuck the last little bit down on this side. So when you start your next piece, since I started here, think of it in thirds. So 1 and here. So I'll start this piece about here. And then when I do my third one, I'll start it about there and just work until I run out of wire or work until I meet the previous part that I wrapped. But then you can just finish wrapping up your bangle. Alright, so I've finished wrapping my other 2 pieces of 24 gauge. And if you look a little more closely, you can see it's just a lot more intricate looking. And it's a lot less bendable, like it's holding its shape much more nicely. Let's do this hand. And now I can just wear it as a fun bangle. So have fun with this project. Like I said, it's very forgiving and it's great for beginners and a great way to practice wire wrapping without having the stress of having it have to be so neat. Enjoy!